So it goes. So later in the article, it goes on to say states could, in fact, allow separate votes for a president and vice president. Vikram David Amar, Dean of the University of Illinois College of Law and the Iwan Foundation Professor of Law, argues why are voters denied the chance to vote for a president of one party and a vice president of the other? After all, voters often split their votes in other ways between a president of one party and a House member or senator of the other, between federal representatives of one party and state representatives of the other. And I was like,
it's true.
So
people do that balancing thing in their head where if I vote for this person, I don't know
Yeah.
the senators and House people, so I'll just vote the opposite for them. Yeah,
So-
people do that.
So I was really happy because I thought I'm misreading the 12th Amendment because I was like, why is it
You
unified
are
as
a scholar, sir.
I was not misreading the 12th Amendment. So the states, and I've talked a lot about how the states have outlived their usefulness. It's the states that unify the ticket, which means if we as people wanted to petition our state, we could say, no, you make this a separate vote. I do not want to vote for a ticket. I want
That's
to
where
vote
they say
for
the write-ins come in, I guess.
No. Because I don't know how you write that in, to be honest, because there's no space for it.
There's no name. There's not two
Only
names.
Yeah, but then you'd have. Oh, so I see. You write in the president's name, and then you write
Biden in, and you write. I don't know.
for your. I mean, I guess that's a protest, but I mean, but why are the people having to? Why am I having to trick the government? My
because it's designed against you. Like that's why.
Not the Constitution is not designed against me.
No, but the ballot. I'm saying the ticket.
Yeah, the state's ballot
has
been designed. So it's like but the thing is, I'm saying this is something that we might be able to reverse. I talk a lot about how it is so important to give not just the complaint, but a possible solution. And there's so many things we cannot change in this country. We cannot abolish the Electoral College. That is just a flight of fancy. We're never going to have a constitutional convention because both sides are afraid of what the other side might do. But this is something where if people wanted to basically lessen and create less of a gap between our nations, we could theoretically have a place. I would have had no problem. I say this not in full truth, but at least if Donald Trump was becoming president and it was becoming clear he was going to become president, I would have loved to have just most of us had voted for someone else as the VP who was not of his party. So a non-Republican to be the vice president, hopeful that person might be able to rein in some of what Trump might be putting down. I think that's a fair option. And I think of it vice versa. If Barack Obama, who I did vote for, if people really were uncomfortable with him as president, but he ended up winning the presidency, I would love for the opposition to have had the option to vote in John McCain or someone else as the VP. I would have had no problem with that because I would have been like, well, that's a check. And I'm happy with that check because it comes back or it goes both ways. I wouldn't feel slighted by that in the least because I do not want to consolidate power. I don't like the way it is today.
I mean, to be fair,
yeah,
like, yes. Also, that's why we have Congress to hold the executive in check. You're not supposed to have parties subverting the will of the people in that way.
But I'm talking about something that cannot be. So here's the thing.
But yes, I get what you're saying, but I think you would fall into similar tribalism where, okay, because the party loyalty is so blind that if you do put a VP in there, they could stifle the presidency, not because it's a check, but because they don't want the president to get a win.
Well, I guess
that's what happens now.
That's what happens with people voting in the voting in the House. The House, right? Like you make the majority of the House one way, and then the Senate is another, and it basically creates a government of inaction because nothing could get through.
How does that work with the VP though? What does he even do? What is he going to like heckle the president at his press conferences?
Yeah, I actually think it'll be. I think it'll be a much.
How would that work? What would he do?
Here's the thing. Initially, this came out of, and again, if you remember, this is coming out of giving the VP more of a prominent role, giving the VP more of a significant role. Because here's the other part about it. You're saying it right now. You're like, well, what would they do? And it's like exactly. the VP is so useless as is. At least now I'm giving them a role. I'm giving them a position.
There's that other amendment when you can like remove the president because that's what people wanted Pence to do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they.
Like
Right.
25th Amendment or something. I'm making that up, but I can't remember.
I guess you could. I guess that would. But I mean that now we've really got a banana republic. If, if every time an opposing VP gets in, they just immediately strike to remove the president.
That's what they wanted. They've impeaching Biden. Like that's what they said before they even found anything on him. That was like agenda item number 1 for some of the House members.
I guess you're right. It's sad to think that you can't even make a change to the government because essentially we are living in it. That's a banana republic. Then if
you need to keep
that's
the kids separate, like they'll fight. Like it's crazy. That's where we are right now. We are so tribal in our politics that the perception, at least for us, and maybe this is we're victims of how the media portrays it, but we can't trust them to collaborate.
Yeah. I was just hoping. It was a hopeful.
I like it. I think that we should. I actually think it's still a valid idea. I'm kind of just like having a little bit of fun, but I think that changing the format of the ticket, where you could still identify what party people are associated with, but you have to color in the circles for each position. No more bundles.
Yeah. I would just it's very doable. That's the thing. It's not we don't have to change any laws.
You're actually just making it more uniform because every other position you could do 2 senators and 1 from each party. You could do whatever you want. You can
do whatever you want.
The only time they're bundled together is for the presidency. So it's actually just hey, it's probably a cost saver for us.
I think so.
You don't have to have a difference in formatting.
I'm just saying
you don't have to reset the printer.
It's something that people can look into. It's something you can make a movement behind. I mean, it's at the end of the day, what is the? I mean, I hear what you're saying with the harm with regard to having even more inaction, even more of a stalemated republic. But I mean, we need to be mature. We need to grow up somehow. And as far as I could think, I felt like this might be it. This might be one of the things that we could do in our lifetimes that might have an impact and might actually shake things up, because I think most people might actually latch onto this, because here's the thing. Most people are not
do that balance thing in their head at the presidency level.
Exactly. They're doing the balance thing. And most people aren't as hard lined as Jimmy in Action Jordan. These guys are a minority, even though, he's got 200 people voting for him. But at the end of the day, these guys are a minority of our republic. The majority of people are centrist. They're definitely not progressives. And I don't fault them necessarily for not doing so. But conservatives are not that. They're not that it. They're not as go down as hard. Like people do this. People do the media does the polls all the time. They're like, what is it? It's like 64% of Americans support an abortion, especially if it's in the instance of saving the mother or things of that nature. So the hardliners, all the things that a lot of these people are trying to pass, is not stuff that most Americans would vote for. It's very it's antithesis to what the majority of Americans would support. It's the hardliners the minority running over the majority. And so I think that this is something where most people would say, you know what, it's a sacrifice I think most people are willing to make the sacrifice of just saying, I don't need to have both my candidates be the president and vice president. I'm happy to lose one and win the other.